Satan. No, wait. It's just a desk mat. Relax. I just thought it looked cool, and it's just very demonic. Anyway, we're here with a Letshuoer IEM that isn't even out yet. That's how ahead of the curve I am right now on this channel. This is my first review on coffee. For those of you keeping track, I usually do these in like a chunk of like 6 or 7 in a day. First, when it's kind of sleepy time. Now it's coffee time. And I didn't even drink a lot of the coffee, but I'm ready to go. These are the Letshuoer DZ4s. And this is some aggressive Mozart I'm listening to right now. Off of a tube. And you know tubes usually work great with dynamics. So is this a dynamic? Yes. But it's not just a dynamic. It's 3 dynamics and a passive radiator. So it's like, that's unique. I've never had that before in my head. I'm just swapping around now because while loving Topaz, even whipping out the IEM T9. So here's the thing. What the fuck? There's a lot of noise floor in that. I'm going to go away from that now. We're going to go back to the OWN S9C. Or you know what? Special guest. The Ukrainian-made Tor Audio. Oh, balanced. So let's look at it. I'll take them out of my head in a second, but let's look at it. Since the webpage doesn't have it active, it's currently $10,000. I know for a fact because I talked to Letshuoer themselves, and they're like, it'll be around 100. So 100, 110, 130, 180, it doesn't matter because it's the first of its type. Here's what the inside looks like. 1, 2, 3 6mm drivers with a 6mm passive. So I got curious, and when Zeos gets curious, he whips out the math. What? Oh, it broke. Anyway, I did the math, or I asked Google to do the math. What is the surface area of a 10mm dynamic? And it was like 70 something. And I'm like, all right, cool. What's the surface area of 3 6mm? 28 each, so it's not even that much bigger. So then I'm like, well, why then? Because I was thinking like, okay, maybe, like I know if you have a 10-inch sub or 2 8-inch subs, the 2 8-inch subs equals to greater than a 10-inch sub. But it's such a small percentage larger. And then the passive radiator throws me off too, because there's a passive radiator. It says Letshuoer, which is kind of awesome that it's like in the thing, and that's a 2-pin. It's so tiny, but it's still like says Letshuoer. And I'm trying to work out how they are integrating that, because it's not like all the things are shooting into a chamber and it has a passive radiator like a speaker would. And it's got to be tube mixed, because there's 3 tubes total that come out of the actual IEM end. One, I believe, is this tube that goes here. That is just a breather tube. And then the other ones combine into the second tube. So like this one and this one, there's the passive radiator, there's the active one, and these two are just soloed. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that I've not, like, if you didn't tell me what this was on the inside, I could probably give you like a decent assessment of how I feel like it sounds. And you'd be like, oh, that's very interesting, Zeos. But the knowing that it's using 3 active small dynamics and a passive radiator, we're going to ignore the passive radiator because I don't know. They're doing that to control something. I'm more interested in like, well, what's the benefit? Why? So I'm like, I want to throw fully aggressive treble music at it because it's like treble, like violins and Mozart. The Minuetto Allegretto from whatever the fuck, KV 406 Quintets Volume 3. And it's got excellent treble detail. But then I'm like, all right, well, how about bass? Because it's about the same size as a 10, and it's got excellent bass response. And then I'm like, well, then what is if I've heard this out of a single dynamic, so why are we doing this? And the only thing I could think of is that it's faster to move 3 6mm in tandem than it is to move 1 10. Is that true? I don't know. Let me talk about difficulty of driving, because I didn't think this was going to be very hard to drive. What are the specs on the back of the box? It's only 12 ohms, which is actually, see, there's where we're starting to touch on to the low ohms. Like the other ones I did were like 8. So I'm wondering if the wire might be affecting it. Here is the wire that it comes with. It's a Letshuoer cable, and it's a 3.5 millimeter, and it's very nice. It reminds me a hell of a lot of the Chimera cable, which is my balanced version. Only this is actually a 4-wire, this is a 2-wire. So I put the Chimera on it to try it on all different amplifiers, because I was finding it needed more power than just the 3.5. Well, not more power, but like, I know if I'm going like here with a 3.5, it'll be here with balanced. And I have the Rebel amp out to do that, and I had this out and that out, and everything's out. And the only way I can describe it is it sounds like there's 3 very capable IEMs inside this IEM, all playing at the same time. It just feels like something that was, it's like if you had a soft, great thing, but it's a little bit soft. So what if you had 2 of those soft, great things? What if you had 3 of those soft, great things? Okay, now we're talking. And at this price point at $100, I feel like they're not taking a huge risk. They aren't coming out with like a $600 IEM that either is going to make or break it because it costs so much. The fact they're able to do this for cheap means that they're probably doing this as an experiment to see if they should go forward in trying this technology or this build set for something greater. Like maybe it'll be 2 dynamics, 6 millimeters, and then a BA, or another 3, but more expensive, because I know that, you know, you could vary the cost of a dynamic from cheap as shit to $1,000. Yeah, right here. Okay, perfect. This is from the Revenant. This is from Glass and Buffalo Warrior Travel. I'm at a wedding, and I'm like, hey, can you play Glass and Buffalo Warrior Travel from the Revenant OST? And they're going to be like, what? It's this very large, like, it sounds like we're in a church and someone's just like, and that's what it sounds like. It sounds like there's more than one driver, but not just like, oh, there's a couple BAs or there's a dynamic. It sounds like just a lot of shit is happening at the same time. It takes some power to do it. We're nearly there. We're maxed out now on this tube amp, which is not a weak tube amp, and I'm actually feeding it off of my Aries. God, that sounds good. Here, the most powerful thing. Well, actually, that's the most powerful thing, but I don't have the DAC set up for it. There's this, like, largeness. Thick. It sounds thick with sound. The treble comes in, and it's like, that's very, very... That's a very fine detail on that, because it's such a small driver. I don't think they're breaking up... I don't know if they're breaking up the frequencies across the 3 drivers, if they're using 2 for bass and 1 for mid-range and treble, and then the passive radiator will obviously be there to just support, I would assume, the low end, but God knows with these. By the way, I just want to point something out before I forget. This is the cover art, which is really cool. Everything in orange is slightly raised, so you can feel it, like a mosquito bite. It's just, that's just the nicest little detail they put on that. Like, no one's going to notice that. I just want you to notice it when you buy these, because eventually you will be buying them. As soon as they hit the market, I literally am going to post this on Patreon. Patreon and Subscribe Star, they get to see these reviews early. So they're going to see this and be like, Zeus, I want to try those. Those sound fucking wild. They are wild. They have this, like, just, it sounds like I'm sitting too close to really good speakers. And not too close to where, like, oh, it sounds bad. It's just like, your mom's going to yell at you because you're sitting too close to the TV. That's how you go blind. That is not how you go blind. Unless you're, like, this close to the TV. Everything is just smooth. It's like all the benefits of having a smaller dynamic, like the Sennheiser, like IE300s. Small 6 millimeter, 7 millimeter dynamic, I think, on those. But that's it, one. And while they're accurate and can do things, it's like they lack the impact. This is 3 IE300s in a chassis for $100. The Kizumonogatari soundtrack is just like alive in me. I am currently being alived. A little bit of difference between amplification. I mean, these are two probably what I would call similar in their taste. If I do this, we go to some Class A. Hold on. Then I gotta flip that, because that's DACing that. Because why would you not DAC the Rebel amp with a $2,300 Linkin Park. Oh, God. Yeah, like a bass note just came up in Linkin Park, and it was like boom, 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 and it was just the very beginning, and then it's drowned out by everything else. But like I felt it. These are feels. You're feeling these. I want to bop to these. So yeah, I have nothing to compare this to. Like I could just compare it to every other IEM, but I feel like that's not fair in the general sense that no other IEM has been this. It's like comparing motorcycles to trikes to cars. It's like, yeah, you can, but obviously the motorcycle is going to be slower on the corners with the car has 4 wheels. So God, vocals. Ola Belle Reed, Where the Wild, Wild Flowers Grow from Peanut Butter Falcon. Great movie. You know what? That's going in my new test for Sun Demos. Soundstage is also weird too, because it's not like every track is different. Every track is either this track, there's shit happening right in the middle. And the last track was just like explosions this wide. I guess it depends on which dynamic it's lighting up the most. This is a lot of guitar plucking and vocals. There's a fly. Oh my Jesus Christ, I fucked up. Race and Crash from the Dragon Ball Z soundtrack. Yeah, no, these, I highly approve of this. Whatever this sound, whatever they're going for here, it just sounds, all it has to sound to make me happy is a little bit different. I do this shit all day. Well, I haven't for like 2 weeks, but I mean, usually, or more like 3 weeks, just to have something go in my ears and be like, you know what? All right. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I could recommend something that sounds interesting. They also seem to get insanely loud. I don't know if that's like a thing that you want, but like I have accidentally turned it up a little bit too loud a couple times on a few different amplifiers, and on all of them it's been like, ooh, this is a pleasurable experience. It's pleasurably loud as opposed to I feel like they also might work better quiet than other IEMs, because yeah, you still got to get them. Like, I think every IEM has a minimum. I haven't found the IEM that you could have it just like crack ass whisper and it's like, oh, that's everything, it's full, it's got all the body. No, you'll need a little bit of oomph, and with the crossover that they're obviously trying to throw through this, yeah, drivers comes with a single. Oh yeah, by the way, this is a collaboration with a joint effort, I should say, with Haygear. One word, Haygear, the leading 3D print supplier. So they actually, I should probably take them out of my head. I haven't taken my head yet because you can't make me. They're actually quite large. They're not small little babies. They're big, and this is 3D printed. And you know what? I couldn't tell. They're like a sand, like a soft satin sand finish, and they've got the aluminum outsides, and then the inside is an actual grill, because one of those tubes in the image is actually going back up and into this grill. So it's got a passive radiator that vents into this, and then another tube, according to the diagram at least, unless that was a complete fabrication. So you get your aluminum, and you get your, it's really nice. This, it's like, I can't say flesh tone because that's not a thing anymore, but it's like, I guess if you were a dead zombie in the ocean, this is the color that your skin would be. Like really bad Barbie dolls. Yeah, no, and there's your 3 holes. I have, by the way, I'm using the X-Lastic Sedna Fits on it. Only tips I put on it. I'm swapping through 15 tips, and I'm just like, nope, these are perfect. Don't touch it. So I might swap out after this video, because I'm going to be listening to these for a minute, and just see what's the dealio. Like, do I want more bass? Do I want more treble? All right, I'll be that guy that does that for you. Even though this video is probably, hold on, I'm going to check the camera. 14 minutes, we're already too long. All right. I got to finish this in 60 seconds. 1 second, here we go. God damn it, Rinko. Render tips. Oh, render tips are so... Actually, this is a big nozzle, I just realized. That is a red... Is it a red size nozzle? This might be a spitter, where you have to actually spit on the tip to get it on. I'm not ashamed to say I've done that. Usually I'm faster with reviews on coffee, but this is my first on coffee today, so it's got to wear in to my soul. Let's see. We don't want to listen to that anyway. Give me some music I know. Maybe a little bit more forward with the foam tips, with the render tips. They're good. They're good IEMs. I will listen to them more than just this review. There is no higher praise here on In Ear Fetish than Zeos has completed his review. He takes a picture of the thumbnail, and then it goes on a shelf and gets sold, or doesn't it? I will listen to these actively more than I have already. And I just ignore... Oh, almost forgot the thing. Plastic screw case. Beautiful rubberized satin in the inside. Here is the tip holder. It has vocal and balanced ear tips. Just use whatever tips you find you like the best. I like the circle that fits in the circle, which fits in the circle. Ah, mouse pad in the description if you want your mom to call social services on you. Wallpaper in the hoard. Thank you for Letshuoer for sending these out early. I feel like these are gonna pop up. You know where these are gonna pop up? In amp reviews. They change just enough that it's like, all right, I'm gonna plug it in here. Oh, I'm gonna plug it in here. And how does this one handle the DZ4s? D's nuts. Okay, I'm done. This video is already too long. So links and thank you and Patreon support, and I'll see you in the next one. And let's consume more coffee, more of it. $300 cable, 12 ohms. They're better. Just saying. They're better with the $300 extremely low impedance cable. Well, enjoy your $100 IEMs with a $300 cable.